Have you ever felt torn between two extremes? Perhaps you've been caught between the endless pursuit of pleasure and the urge to withdraw from everything. What if I told you there is a path that allows us to transcend both, a path that invites us to embrace the beauty of balance and harmony? This path, my friends, is the middle way, a concept at the very heart of Buddhist philosophy, often taught by His Holiness the Dalai Lama as a guide for living a life of wisdom, compassion, and equanimity. The middle way isn't just a philosophical idea, it's an invitation to live consciously, with awareness of ourselves and the world around us. It encourages us to walk a middle path, to avoid extremes and find a sense of balance in every aspect of our lives. But what does this mean for you and me, living in this modern, chaotic world? Let's take a deeper dive into this profound concept, explore its origins, and understand how it can transform our lives today. Ready to cultivate a life of equanimity and compassion? Subscribe to our channel and start your journey today. Origins of the Middle Way. The Middle Way finds its roots in the life of Siddhartha Gautama, who later became the Buddha. Can you imagine what it must have been like to grow up in a palace, surrounded by opulence and luxury? Siddhartha had every imaginable comfort. He was a prince after all. He lived in an environment carefully curated by his father to shield him from the harsh realities of the outside world. He was surrounded by beauty, pleasure, and comfort, and was kept ignorant of the suffering that existed beyond the palace walls. Despite being given everything that he could ever want, Siddhartha found himself deeply dissatisfied. He felt an emptiness, a longing that all the material wealth in the world could not fulfill. One day, Siddhartha ventured beyond the confines of the palace, and what he saw would change his life forever. He witnessed, for the first time, the realities of old age, sickness, and death. He saw an old man, frail and hunched over, struggling to move. He saw a sick person, in pain and suffering, and finally, he saw a funeral procession carrying the body of someone who had passed away. These encounters shook Siddhartha to his core. He realized that no amount of luxury or comfort could protect anyone from the inevitable suffering that was part of the human experience. It was in these moments that Siddhartha first began to understand the impermanence of life and the nature of suffering. Determined to find the answer to the question that had haunted him, what is the true nature of suffering, and how can one find lasting happiness? Siddhartha decided to leave behind his life of luxury. He renounced his princely status, his wealth, and even his family, and set off on a spiritual quest to discover the truth. He embraced the opposite extreme of the life he had known, severe asceticism. He fasted for days, meditated for long hours without rest, and deprived himself of all physical comfort. He believed that by denying his body, he could find enlightenment. He lived this way for several years, pushing his body to the brink of death, enduring unimaginable physical discomfort. Yet, despite all of this, he found himself no closer to the truth. One day, Siddhartha was meditating by the banks of a river, weakened and emaciated from his years of ascetic practice. He overheard a music teacher on a boat, explaining to his student the importance of tuning the strings of a lute. If the string is too tight, it will break. If it is too loose, it will not play. These words struck Siddhartha deeply. He realized that his approach to enlightenment had been flawed. Just as the lute string must be in balance to create music, so too must the mind and body be in balance to achieve enlightenment. He understood that neither extreme, neither indulgence in pleasure nor complete self-denial, could lead to true happiness and liberation. This realization marked the birth of the Middle Way. Siddhartha accepted a simple meal from a village girl named Sujata, breaking his long fast. This act was a pivotal moment in his journey, as it symbolized his rejection of extreme asceticism in favor of a more balanced approach. His fellow ascetics, who had admired his rigorous practices, abandoned him, believing that he had given up on his quest for enlightenment. But Siddhartha knew that he was closer than ever to understanding the truth. He then made his way to a place now known as Bodh Gaya, where he sat beneath a Bodhi tree, vowing not to rise until he had attained enlightenment. It was here, under the shade of the Bodhi tree, that Siddhartha meditated deeply, reflecting on his experiences and insights. He faced the temptations and distractions of Mara, the embodiment of desire and illusion, who sought to deter him from his path. Siddhartha remained steadfast, unwavering in his determination to find the truth. After days of intense meditation, he finally attained enlightenment and became the Buddha, the awakened one. In that moment of awakening, the Buddha realized the Four Noble Truths: the truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. He understood that the middle way, a path of balance and moderation, was essential to overcoming the cycles of suffering and attaining true liberation. The middle way was not just a theoretical concept, it was a practical guide for living a life free from the attachments and aversions that lead to suffering. The Buddha's life story is a powerful illustration of the middle way in action. It is a story of a man who experienced both extremes, indulgence and deprivation, and who came to understand that neither could lead to true happiness. The middle way emerged from his direct experience, from his own trials, errors, and realizations. It is a path that recognizes the value of balance in all aspects of life: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. This realization led Siddhartha to articulate the Eightfold Path, which serves as a practical framework for living the middle way. The Eightfold Path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each of these elements guides us towards a balanced way of living that fosters wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. The middle way, therefore, is not just about avoiding extremes, it is about cultivating a holistic approach to life that nurtures our well-being and helps us live in harmony with ourselves and others. Doesn't the Buddha's journey resonate with all of us today? Aren't we all, in some way, seeking that elusive sense of balance amidst the whirlwind of our modern lives? We may not be princes or ascetics, but we all experience the pull of extremes, whether it's the pursuit of material success, the desire for sensory pleasures, or the struggle with self-denial and burnout. The middle way offers us a path that transcends these extremes, inviting us to live with greater awareness, compassion, and wisdom. The middle way teaches us that life is not about choosing one extreme over the other, but about finding a harmonious balance that allows us to live fully and authentically. It reminds us that true happiness is not found in excess or in lack, but in the gentle space between, the space where we can appreciate what we have, nurture our inner selves, and connect deeply with the world around us. The origins of the middle way are not just a story from the past, they are a timeless reminder of the power of balance in creating a meaningful and fulfilling life. The Dalai Lama's teachings on the middle way. His Holiness the Dalai Lama has often emphasized the importance of the middle way not only as a personal spiritual practice but as a guiding philosophy for broader social and political issues. Imagine a life lived with a sense of equilibrium, a life where our mind, emotions, and desires are all in balance. That's what the middle way offers, a path to well-being that nurtures both ourselves and those around us. The Dalai Lama's teachings on the middle way are deeply rooted in compassion, wisdom, and the recognition of the interconnectedness of all beings. He often speaks about the middle way as an approach that allows us to navigate life's challenges without succumbing to the extremes of indulgence or denial. Instead, it's about cultivating a balanced perspective that honors both our material needs and our spiritual growth. Let's explore how His Holiness interprets the middle way in various aspects of life, from personal well-being to political solutions. Balance between material and spiritual needs. In our modern society, the Dalai Lama often speaks of the dangers of becoming overly materialistic. How often do we fall into the trap of believing that happiness is just one more purchase away? The middle way invites us to recognize the value of material comfort. Yes, we need resources to live comfortably, but it also reminds us that true happiness can only be found within. It's found in kindness, in compassion, and in moments of genuine connection with others. The Dalai Lama teaches that while wealth can bring comfort, the pursuit of wealth for its own sake often leads to emptiness. Have you ever noticed how, after chasing something for so long, its glow starts to fade as soon as you grasp it? The middle way teaches us to appreciate what we have without letting our material desires dominate our lives. It's about finding joy in the little things, while also nurturing our inner self. The Dalai Lama often uses the analogy of fire to describe the relationship between material and spiritual needs. Just as fire can be used to cook food or to burn down a house, material wealth can be used constructively or destructively. It's not the wealth itself that is problematic, but our attachment to it and the way we use it. The middle way encourages us to use our resources wisely, to provide for our needs and to help others, while not becoming consumed by the pursuit of more. He also emphasizes the importance of contentment. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, to upgrade, to accumulate, to compare ourselves to others, the Dalai Lama's message is a powerful reminder that happiness is not found in having more, but in appreciating what we already have. The middle way teaches us that we can enjoy material comforts without letting them define our sense of self-worth. It's about understanding that while external conditions can bring temporary happiness, true and lasting happiness comes from within. Balancing compassion and wisdom. Another key teaching of the Dalai Lama is the balance between compassion and wisdom. Compassion is the heartfelt desire to alleviate suffering, but without wisdom, our actions may become misguided. Likewise, wisdom without compassion can become cold and detached. This delicate balance is the essence of the middle way. It's the realization that compassion and wisdom are not opposing forces, but two sides of the same coin. The Dalai Lama often speaks about the importance of cultivating both compassion and wisdom in tandem. He teaches that compassion must be grounded in a clear understanding of reality. For example, if we see someone suffering, our natural response may be to help. But without wisdom, our efforts might not be effective or could even cause more harm. Wisdom allows us to see the bigger picture, to understand the root causes of suffering, and to take actions that are truly beneficial. Consider the example of a parent caring for a child. Compassion drives the parent to want to protect and nurture the child, but wisdom is needed to know when to set boundaries, when to let the child make mistakes, and when to step back. Too much compassion without wisdom could lead to overprotection, while too much wisdom without compassion could lead to emotional distance. The middle way, as taught by the Dalai Lama, encourages us to find the balance that allows us to act with both heart and mind, ensuring that our actions are both kind and effective. The Dalai Lama also teaches that true compassion extends beyond our immediate circle of family and friends to encompass all beings. This universal compassion is rooted in the understanding that all beings wish to be happy and free from suffering. When we cultivate this kind of compassion, guided by wisdom, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all life. We understand that our well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of others, and this understanding inspires us to act in ways that benefit not just ourselves, but the entire world. The middle way in addressing emotional challenges. The Dalai Lama also applies the concept of the middle way to emotional well-being. He often speaks about the importance of balancing our emotions, neither suppressing them nor allowing them to overwhelm us. Emotions like anger, fear, and jealousy can be powerful and can easily lead us to act in ways that are harmful to ourselves and others. The middle way teaches us to acknowledge these emotions without being controlled by them. The Dalai Lama encourages us to practice mindfulness and self-reflection as tools for understanding our emotions. When we feel anger arising, for example, instead of reacting impulsively or trying to push the anger away, the middle way invites us to observe it, to understand its source, and to respond with patience and clarity. This balanced approach allows us to work with our emotions in a constructive way, transforming negative energy into something positive. He also speaks about the importance of cultivating positive emotions like love, compassion, and joy. Just as we must be careful not to let negative emotions take over, we must also nurture positive states of mind. The middle way is about finding a balance where we can fully experience the richness of our emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It's about learning to ride the waves of our emotional life with grace and resilience. The middle way as a political and social philosophy. The Dalai Lama's teachings on the middle way extend beyond individual well-being to address broader social and political issues. He often speaks about the middle way approach as a practical and compassionate solution to conflict. This approach is particularly evident in his efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the situation in Tibet. The Dalai Lama advocates for genuine autonomy for Tibet within the framework of the Chinese constitution, rather than full independence. This middle way approach seeks to respect the needs and concerns of both the Tibetan people and the Chinese government. It's a path that avoids the extremes of confrontation and submission, instead emphasizing dialogue, mutual understanding, and nonviolence. The Dalai Lama believes that lasting peace can only be achieved through compassion and understanding, and the middle way provides a framework for finding common ground even in the most challenging of circumstances. In a world that often seems divided by political, cultural, and religious differences, the Dalai Lama's message of the middle way is a powerful reminder of the importance of dialogue and empathy. He encourages us to look beyond our differences and to see the shared humanity that unites us. By applying the principles of the middle way, we can work towards solutions that honor the dignity and rights of all people, fostering a more just and peaceful world. The Dalai Lama's teachings on the middle way are not just theoretical, they are deeply practical and applicable to the challenges we face in our daily lives, as well as the broader issues that affect our world. Whether it's finding balance in our personal lives, cultivating compassion and wisdom, managing our emotions, or working towards social and political harmony, the middle way offers a path that leads to greater understanding, peace, and fulfillment. The practical applications of the middle way. The middle way is not just an abstract concept, it's a practical guide for daily living. How can we find balance in our work, our relationships, and even in our political beliefs? His Holiness encourages us to bring this sense of equilibrium into every corner of our lives. Balance between work and personal life. Think about your own life. How often do you struggle to find balance between work and personal commitments? In our pursuit of success, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. The middle way invites us to take a step back and remember the importance of rest, connection, and joy. It tells us that while our work can be meaningful, it should not consume us to the point of losing touch with our loved ones, or with ourselves. Isn't it time to find that balance again? Imagine coming home from a long day of work, exhausted, and yet still unable to disconnect from the pressures of the job. Many of us have experienced that feeling. The middle way invites us to create clear boundaries, time to work and time to rest. It encourages us to see rest not as laziness, but as an essential aspect of our well-being. Taking time to unwind, to be with loved ones, or simply to enjoy a peaceful moment with ourselves is as important as the hours we dedicate to our professional pursuits. This balance leads to greater productivity, creativity, and most importantly, happiness. Mental equanimity amidst challenges. Life, with all its ups and downs, constantly challenges our peace of mind. One of the goals of the middle way is to achieve equanimity, that state of mental calm that helps us remain composed amidst life's inevitable storms. When challenges arise, how do we respond? Do we react with anger, or do we withdraw completely? The middle way invites us to respond with wisdom and compassion, understanding that suffering is part of existence, but it doesn't define us. This, ultimately, is the art of staying balanced even when the world around us seems to be spinning out of control. Imagine facing a situation where everything seems to be falling apart, perhaps the loss of a job, a breakup, or a personal failure. In moments like these, our natural tendency is often to panic, to either overreact or shut down completely. The middle way teaches us that neither of these extremes is helpful. Instead, it encourages us to acknowledge our feelings, to sit with our discomfort, and to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. By practicing mindfulness and self-compassion, we can cultivate an inner resilience that helps us navigate life's difficulties without losing our center. The challenges of practicing the middle way. It's easy to talk about balance, but practicing the middle way is not without its challenges. Modern life is full of pressures that push us toward extremes: work harder, earn more, look better, be more successful. Human nature often inclines us toward attachment and aversion, making balance seem elusive. But isn't this challenge itself an opportunity for growth? By cultivating patience and self-awareness, by meditating and reflecting, we can learn to recognize our tendencies and gently steer ourselves back to the middle path. The Dalai Lama often encourages us not to be discouraged by setbacks. It's normal to struggle, and every challenge is a chance to deepen our understanding of ourselves. Through mindfulness and meditation, we can develop greater awareness of our actions and thoughts, and ultimately, find the equilibrium we seek. The pressure of modern society. In today's fast-paced world, the pressures to succeed, to compete, and to prove ourselves are constant. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with messages telling us what we should look like, how much we should achieve, and what we should aspire to. Social media, advertisements, and even societal expectations can make it feel as though we are never enough, that there is always something more we need to do, be, or have. Practicing the middle way in this environment is challenging, as it requires us to consciously step back from these pressures and question what truly brings us fulfillment. How often do we find ourselves comparing our lives to others, feeling inadequate because we don't measure up to some idealized standard? The middle way invites us to pause, to reflect, and to ask ourselves, what is it that truly brings me peace? It encourages us to let go of the endless pursuit of perfection and instead embrace the beauty of who we are, as we are, in this moment. Overcoming attachment and aversion. Another challenge of practicing the middle way is overcoming our deep-seated tendencies toward attachment and aversion. As human beings, we naturally gravitate towards pleasure and push away pain. We become attached to things, people, and experiences that bring us joy, and we develop an aversion to anything that causes discomfort or fear. The middle way asks us to see beyond these habitual reactions and to understand that both pleasure and pain are transient. They come and go, like waves in the ocean. Imagine being in a relationship where you feel deeply connected to your partner, but over time, you begin to fear losing them. This fear can lead to clinging, jealousy, or even attempts to control the other person. The middle way teaches us that true love is not about attachment, but about allowing the other person the freedom to be who they are. It's about being present in the relationship without trying to grasp or hold on too tightly. Likewise, when faced with pain, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, the middle way encourages us not to resist or deny it, but to meet it with openness and compassion. By doing so, we begin to see that our suffering, like our joy, is impermanent. The middle way as a political solution. Beyond personal growth, the middle way has profound political implications. The Dalai Lama's middle way approach to Tibet's relationship with China is a testament to this principle. Rather than demanding full independence or total submission, the middle way approach seeks genuine autonomy for Tibet within China's framework. It's about dialogue, understanding, and finding common ground, a solution that avoids extremes and embodies the values of nonviolence and compassion. Isn't this exactly what our world needs today? In a world that often feels divided, where political and ideological differences lead to conflict and mistrust, the middle way offers a path to reconciliation. It calls for empathy, for seeing the humanity in those we disagree with, and for seeking solutions that respect the needs and concerns of all parties involved. The Dalai Lama has always emphasized the importance of nonviolence and dialogue, and the middle way approach to Tibet is a powerful example of how these values can be applied to create lasting peace. The relevance of the middle way in today's world. Our world today feels increasingly polarized. Social, political, and cultural divisions seem to push us further apart, leaving little room for dialogue or understanding. The middle way reminds us that there is always another path, a path that embraces moderation, empathy, and openness. It calls on us to resist the pull of extremes and instead foster understanding and harmony. Overcoming polarization. Whether it's in politics, social issues, or personal beliefs, polarization is a growing problem in today's society. We see people gravitating towards extremes, unable or unwilling to consider perspectives different from their own. This kind of rigid thinking can lead to conflict, division, and even hatred. The middle way encourages us to take a step back from our entrenched positions and to consider the viewpoints of others. It's about recognizing that truth is rarely black and white, and that there is value in the perspectives of those we may disagree with. Imagine a heated political debate, where each side is convinced that they are right and the other is wrong. The middle way would ask us to listen, not just to respond, but to truly understand where the other person is coming from. It invites us to find common ground, to look for solutions that honor the needs of all parties, rather than insisting on our own way. This kind of openness and willingness to compromise is what can ultimately lead to healing and unity in our communities. Environmental sustainability. The middle way also holds profound relevance when it comes to our relationship with the environment. In a world facing climate change, resource depletion, and environmental degradation, the middle way offers a guide for how we can live in harmony with the earth. It encourages us to balance our consumption patterns, recognizing our needs while avoiding wasteful and destructive behaviors. Imagine if each of us embraced a more mindful approach to our consumption, buying only what we need, reducing waste, and making choices that support the health of our planet. The middle way calls on us to live simply, to take only what we need, and to recognize that our well-being is intimately connected to the well-being of the earth. By finding a middle path that respects both economic development and ecological balance, we can work towards a sustainable future for ourselves and for future generations. Interpersonal relationships. In our personal relationships, the middle way can help foster understanding and reduce conflict. How often do we find ourselves caught in arguments, each side unwilling to budge, convinced of their own rightness? The middle way encourages empathy and the willingness to listen, even to those with whom we disagree. It invites us to let go of our need to be right and instead focus on building bridges, on finding ways to connect rather than divide. Imagine being in a disagreement with a friend or loved one, perhaps about a deeply held belief or value. The middle way would ask us to pause, to listen without judgment, and to try to see things from the other person's perspective. It's not about abandoning our own beliefs, but about recognizing that the other person's perspective has value too. By approaching our relationships with this kind of openness, we can create deeper, more meaningful connections and reduce the conflicts that so often arise from misunderstanding and rigidity. The practice of the middle way in daily life. So how can we bring the principles of the middle way into our daily lives? It starts with awareness, with the willingness to look at our own thoughts, behaviors, and tendencies, and to ask ourselves where we might be leaning towards extremes. It's about cultivating mindfulness, about being present in each moment, and about making conscious choices that support balance and well-being. Mindfulness and meditation. One of the most powerful tools for practicing the middle way is mindfulness meditation. Through meditation, we develop the ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them. We learn to recognize when we are leaning towards extremes, whether it's in our desires, our fears, or our judgments, and we can gently guide ourselves back to the middle path. Imagine sitting in meditation, noticing a thought arise, perhaps a desire for something you don't have, or a fear of losing something you do. The practice of mindfulness allows you to see the thought for what it is, a transient mental event, and to let it go without getting caught up in it. This simple practice can have profound effects on our ability to live in balance, to respond to life's challenges with equanimity, and to find peace in the present moment. Letting go of judgment. Another important aspect of practicing the middle way is letting go of judgment, both of ourselves and of others. How often do we judge ourselves harshly for not being good enough, for not living up to some idealized standard. How often do we judge others for their actions, their beliefs, or their differences? The middle way invites us to let go of these judgments and to approach ourselves and others with compassion and understanding. Imagine a situation where you've made a mistake, perhaps at work, or in a relationship. The natural tendency might be to beat yourself up, to dwell on what you did wrong and to feel ashamed. The middle way encourages us to instead acknowledge the mistake, to learn from it, and to move forward with kindness towards ourselves. Likewise, when others make mistakes or act in ways we don't understand, the middle way asks us to respond with empathy rather than judgment. By letting go of our need to judge, we create space for growth, for healing, and for deeper connection. Conclusion. The middle way is a timeless guide to balanced living, a path that challenges us to let go of extremes and instead find peace in moderation. His Holiness the Dalai Lama teaches us that true happiness comes not from indulgence or denial, but from the wisdom that comes with balance. By embracing the middle way, we can find harmony in our own lives, create more meaningful relationships, and contribute to a more peaceful world. The middle way is more than just a concept, it's an invitation to live consciously, to embrace both the joys and sorrows of life with grace, and to walk a path that leads to true fulfillment. It's a reminder that, amidst the noise and chaos of life, we can always choose a different way, a gentle, compassionate, balanced way. Isn't it time we all began walking that path? The middle way calls on us to be present, to be mindful, and to be compassionate. It invites us to let go of the need to always be right, to always be more, and instead to find contentment in who we are, in this moment. It's a path that leads not only to personal peace but to a more harmonious world, a world where understanding, empathy, and balance guide our actions and our relationships. So, let us walk this path together. Let us strive for balance in our own lives, let us approach each other with compassion and wisdom, and let us work towards a world that values understanding over division, harmony over conflict, and balance over extremes. The middle way is not an easy path, but it is a path worth walking, a path that leads to true happiness, to genuine connection, and to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Isn't that the kind of world we all long for? A world where we can live in peace with ourselves, with each other, and with the earth? A world where balance, compassion, and wisdom are not just ideals, but the foundation of our daily lives? The middle way offers us a way forward, a way to create that world, one step at a time, one moment at a time. Let us begin today.